Hello everyone, we'll see the next chapter, chemical coordination and integration. For your
Okay, so
KCET, you can expect one question, otherwise no questions. For NEET, obviously, compulsory one question. Okay, so don't lose that 4 marks. This is the diagram picked from your NCERT textbook. I hope that you know the places of different endocrine glands in our body. Endocrine glands are the glands which secretes hormones. There is a big difference between endocrine and exocrine glands. Exocrine glands could be salivary glands or even the tear glands, etc. Okay, so you know that exocrine glands always secretes the enzymes or secretions. Endocrine glands only hormones. Okay, so we'll start talk about the first endocrine gland, hypothalamus. Very simple. Hypothalamus is situated in the brain just below the thalamus, and it has got a type of cells called as nuclei. They are neurosecretory cells. Please remember this word. Okay, so neurosecretory cells called nuclei, they are the ones which produces hormones. Hypothalamus can produce two types of hormones. One is called as releasing hormones. That means it stimulates the hormones of pituitary gland, or it can stimulate the pituitary gland to release hormones. For example, gonadotropin releasing hormone is the hypothalamic releasing hormone, which actually stimulates, controls pituitary to release gonadotropins. Got it? Whereas one more type is inhibiting. One is, see, one hormone is promoting, other one is inhibiting. The inhibiting type is somatostatin, which inhibits the release of growth hormone, that is GH, from pituitary. Got it? So remember these two types of hormone. Somatostatin is very important. Okay, so here the posterior pituitary, it is also called as pars nervosa or neurohypophysis. Okay, pars nervosa, neurohypophysis or posterior pituitary is under the direct control of the hypothalamic hormones. Okay, the hypothalamic hormones control all activities of posterior pituitary. Okay, so if we talk about anterior pituitary, okay, the anterior pituitary is under the control of hypothalamus through a system called as portal circulation. In the diagram, this is also picked from your NCERT. You could see portal circulation. Remember that anterior pituitary is under the control of hypothalamus through portal circulation. Got it? Okay, so fine. We move further. So pituitary gland, this is very important, and you see so many different types of hormones. Okay, pituitary gland is located in a bony cavity called sella turcica. Remember that bony cavity, sella turcica. Okay, so we can divide the pituitary gland into two parts actually. One is adenohypophysis, the other one is neurohypophysis. Okay, so adenohypophysis mainly like kind of anterior pituitary that contains two parts, pars distalis and pars intermedia. That is not pars intermedia. Okay, so here let us talk about the pars distalis. Pars distalis of pituitary is also called as anterior pituitary. Okay, so they secrete around six hormones, that is growth hormone, first one, you can read it out. So if the growth hormone secretion is in excess, obviously that is over secretion. Okay, so hyper secretion of GH obviously causes gigantism, you know that. Whereas hyposecretion of GH, that is low secretion of GH, actually cause the dwarfism. Okay, next one is prolactin, regulates the growth of mammary glands and formation of milk in them. Whereas TSH, that is also anterior pituitary, pars distalis, third hormone. Okay, so which stimulate the synthesis and secretion of thyroid hormones from thyroid gland. Please. Next, fourth one, ACTH, adenocorticotrophic hormone. Okay, so normally it regulates the synthesis and secretion of steroid hormones called glucocorticoids from the adrenal cortex, that is the outer portion of the adrenal gland. Okay, so we'll talk about it later. Next one is LH. You are a bit familiar with this. Stimulate gonadal activity, and hence they are the gonadotrophins. There are two gonadotrophins, one is LH and the other one is FSH. Okay, so normally we know that in testis, that is in males, obviously it helps in the synthesis and secretion of testosterone, that is androgens. Okay, in females, ovulation, that is rupturing of Graafian follicles. We know that LH surge, okay, to release the ovum. Follicle stimulating hormone, yes, we know that it also regulates spermatogenesis. It also regulates the oogenesis, that is development of the ovarian follicles, okay, in the menstrual cycle. Next, pars intermedia, that is the second part of the anterior pituitary. Actually, it doesn't belong to anterior pituitary. Okay, so MSH, always remember melanocytes. Okay, these are the type of cells which produces melanin. Okay, you know that pigmentation of the skin. Remember that this is the only hormone released from pars intermedia. Okay, so next, hormones stored and released by pars nervosa, neurohypophysis, posterior pituitary. Okay, so that is oxytocin, vasopressin, very important. Actually, these two hormones are produced by hypothalamus, but they are stored inside the pituitary, particularly neurohypophysis. Technically, posterior pituitary cannot secrete or synthesize the hormones oxytocin and vasopressin. These are the hormones of hypothalamus, but they are stored. Okay, but still we say these are the hormones of posterior pituitary. Okay, so oxytocin, you know that they actually acts on the smooth muscles of the uterus. You know that the smooth muscles are nothing but the endomyometrium, correct? Okay, so you know that vasopressin, ADH is very important for preventing diuresis. What is diuresis? That is loss of excess of water through urine. Okay, so hence it is called as anti-diuretic hormone. Okay, so it's like a reabsorption of water and electrolytes from the distal tubules of the nephron. Okay, so that's ADH. Remember it. Pineal gland is located in the brain itself. There is a diagram in the next slide, and they actually secrete a hormone called as melatonin. It is also called as 24-hour hormone. Okay, they maintain the diurnal rhythm of the body. Okay, so it helps in regulating the normal rhythm of sleep, wake cycle, body temperature. Even actually it influences your metabolism, even menstrual cycle, pigmentation, and even like immune system also. So that is melatonin, very important. Pineal gland, only one hormone, melatonin. It's not clear actually. Okay, download it from the internet. Copyright. Okay, so you see the pineal gland. Okay, so just below the corpus callosum. Okay, so it's a tiny gland, that is pineal gland, secretes melatonin. Thyroid gland and parathyroid gland. You could see the left side. On the left side, you see like butterfly-like structure, that is thyroid gland. This is the dorsal side, like back side, and you could see tiny red dots. Four are there, so that is parathyroid glands. There are four parathyroid glands. Okay, whereas thyroid gland has two lobes: left lobe, right lobe. Okay, so that looks like a butterfly. Normally, a type of connective tissue is there. That is called as isthmus in the thyroid gland, which connects two lobes of the thyroid gland. Okay, so I cannot come back. The thyroid gland is composed of tiny follicles and some stromal tissues, not required. Okay, so normally if you look into the follicle, they are composed of follicular cells. That means thyroid is made up of follicular cells. Okay, so there are three important hormones which is secreted, produced by this thyroid gland. One is thyroxine. It is also called as tetraiodothyronine. In short, we write T4. So remember the names thyroxine, T4. Okay. Another one is triiodothyronine, that is T3. That is directly secreted by the thyroid gland itself. Okay. So the other one is thyrocalcitonin, which regulates the blood calcium levels. Okay. So it's like sometimes calcium level increases, sometimes decreases. So we need someone to regulate that. That is thyrocalcitonin. So three hormones from thyroid gland. Let us see the functions of T4 and T3 here, because TCT, that is thyrocalcitonin, function is already given there. Okay, so BMR, it play important role in the regulation of basal metabolic rate, very important. Okay, so even red blood cell formation. Okay, so red blood cell RBC formation. Okay, even metabolism of carbohydrates, protein, and fats also. Even water and electrolyte balance in the body. Okay, so these are the main functions of T4 and T3. Iodine is compulsory. Okay, that's what you need to eat, iodine. Okay, otherwise thyroid cannot synthesize T4 and T3. Disorders, one is hypothyroidism, that is less secretion of thyroid hormones. Another one is hyperthyroidism. Hypothyroidism, goiter, you know that enlargement of the thyroid gland, very important. Okay, due to hypothyroidism. Why? Iodine deficiency. Hypothyroidism during pregnancy also causes defective development and maturation of the baby. Okay, so causing stunted growth called as cretinism. Even it also retards mental growth also. Even low IQ, even skin abnormality, deaf mutism. Okay, so these are the important symptoms of cretinism. Okay. Next, hyperthyroidism, excess. Okay, it causes thyroid cancer. Done. Note this point. Parathyroid gland, as I said earlier, on the dorsal side, there are four tiny glands. Okay, so that is parathyroid gland. They secrete a peptide hormone, that is protein hormone called as parathyroid hormone, PTH. Okay, so it also regulates calcium ions in the body. Okay, so PTH increases calcium levels in the blood. You may get a question, name the hormone which increases calcium levels in the blood, that is PTH. Okay, so normally it acts in the bones and even resorption, that is kind of like getting the calcium back from the bone. Okay, so that is done by the PTH. Then stimulation of stimulates reabsorption of calcium ions by the renal tubules also, and increases calcium absorption from digested food also. Okay, so this is the thing, absorption of calcium from the nephron as well as from the digested food, that is in the small intestine, because we need calcium, right? We need to retain calcium. So it is a hypercalcemic hormone. The ultimate goal of PTH is to increase the calcium ion concentration in the body. That's it. Okay, so even that is calcium balance in the body. Done. So that is parathyroid. Next, thymus, the tiny structure actually just the dorsal side of the heart. Okay, so you see between aorta and heart, you see aorta, you know, that big pipe comes out of the heart. Okay, which takes oxygenated blood to the different parts of the body. So there on the dorsal side, you see a tiny gland called as thymus. Thymus actually very important for your immune system. You know that T cells mature in the thymus. Okay, so T lymphocytes, they secrete hormones called as thymosins. Okay, so that is differentiation of T lymphocytes. So it's very easy actually. You may get a question, name the hormone which play a role in the maturation and differentiation of T cells or T lymphocytes. That is thymosins, because T lymphocytes mature in thymus. So that's it. Okay, so the immune responses of old person become weak due to degeneration of thymus. Yes, so normally like in the infant stage, thymus will be large, but as we grow older it becomes very small because of degeneration. Okay, so adrenal gland, that is very important. Look at the diagram there. You see kidney, just on the top of the kidney you see adrenal gland. We have a pair of kidneys, that means a pair of adrenal gland. Okay, so if we take a one adrenal gland and cut it, see, you see two parts. One is the middle part called as adrenal medulla. The outer portion is called as adrenal cortex, that is yellow portion is cortex. Okay, so here that's what I said, like, you know, two types of tissues. You can read it out, adrenal medulla and adrenal cortex. Okay, so two hormones. The medulla secretes two important hormones, very important. They are actually epinephrine or adrenaline, noradrenaline or norepinephrine. So we commonly call them as catecholamines or flight or fight hormones, emergency hormones. Okay, that is secreted from the medulla region. Okay, so normally this sympathetic nervous system play an some significant role on this medulla, so that, you know, the medulla actually can secrete this epinephrine and norepinephrine. Got it? Okay, so that's what, like as I said, in response to stress, these hormones are released. That's what, like they are called as emergency hormones. Okay, fine, you can read it out. Okay, so increase alertness, pupillary dilation, then rising of hairs, that is pillow erection, sweating. Okay, so all this stuff. Then even they play important role in your metabolism, that is breaking the breakdown of the glycogen. Okay, as a result, obviously when you break glycogen you get a lot of glucose. That's it, concentration of glucose automatically increases in the blood. Okay, so even lipid breakdown also, and even protein breakdown also. So these are the functions of emergency medulla. Next, cortex, the outer portion. Okay, so cortex hormones are called as corticoids. There are three hormones. Okay, so corticoids are divided into three portions. Okay, so the innermost portion of the adrenal cortex is called as zona reticularis. Zona reticularis is the innermost. Okay, so middle one is the fasciculata. Okay, remember that. So reticularis mainly produces sex hormones. Sex hormones, androgenic steroids play a role in the growth of axial hair, pubic hair, facial hair during puberty. Note this point. Whereas the second layer, the middle one, produces Glucocorticoids. Gluco means something like related to metabolism. Okay, glucocorticoids, carbohydrate metabolism, that is cortisol. Example, the enzyme, the hormone which is involved in carbohydrate metabolism is a type of glucocorticoid called as cortisol. Okay, normally they stimulate gluconeogenesis, even lipolysis, that is breakdown of lipid, and proteolysis, that is breakdown of protein, and inhibit cellular uptake and utilization of amino acids. Okay, so even they also help in the regulation of cardiovascular system, even kidney function. Okay, so this glucocorticoids, particularly cortisol, produces anti-inflammatory reactions and suppressing the immune response, even stimulates rbc production also, cortisol. Okay, so anything could be asked, please note this down. Outer layer, that is glomerulosa. Zona glomerulosa is the outermost layer of the cortex. Okay, it produces mineralocorticoids, that means it involved in the regulation of electrolytes as well as water. Okay, example is aldosterone. You can get a question actually, aldosterone, regulation of water and electrolytes balance. Okay, so they mainly acts on the renal tubules, that's it, because water is a reabsorption takes place in the nephron, renal tubules, and stimulates the reabsorption of sodium and water and excretion of potassium and phosphate ions. Okay, so thus aldosterone helps in the maintenance of electrolytes, even the body fluid, that is water. It increases water in the body. Okay, even osmotic pressure and blood pressure. Please note this point. Pancreas, we know that it is the kind of like exocrine as well as endocrine gland. Exocrine means it can secrete enzymes. Endocrine means it can also secrete hormones, both. It is the only gland in our body called as exoendocrine gland. Okay, so they consist of a small patches called as islets of Langerhans. Very important, could be asked. Okay, there are about 1 to 2 millions of islets of Langerhans in a normal human pancreas. Islet of Langerhans has two main types of cells, that is alpha cells and beta cells. Alpha can secrete glucagon. Remember this, alpha cells of the pancreas secrete glucagon hormone. Beta cells secrete insulin hormone. Okay, so glucagon actually increases the concentration of glucose in the body, whereas insulin decreases the concentration of glucose in the blood. Okay, glucagon maintains the normal blood glucose level. Okay, glucagon acts mainly on the liver cells, hepatocytes, you know that liver cells, and stimulate glycogenolysis, resulting in increased blood sugar level. Hyperglycemia. Remember hyperglycemia, increased glucose in the blood. That is glucagon. Very important. Okay, so in addition, this hormone stimulates the process of gluconeogenesis, which also contributes hyperglycemia. Again, newly synthesized glucose again contributes to hyperglycemia by glucagon. Okay, so it is hyperglycemic hormone. Done. Insulin is contrasting, okay, to this glucagon. It actually helps the cell to take high concentration of glucose. As a result, it reduces the concentration of glucose in the blood. Okay, insulin acts mainly on hepatocytes, that is liver cells, adipocytes, that is adipose cells. Okay, that is cells which is helps in the increased fat, okay, in our body. Okay, so cells of adipose tissue, yes, and enhances cellular glucose uptake and utilization. As a result, there is a rapid movement of glucose from blood to hepatocytes and adipocytes, resulting in decreased blood glucose level. Hypoglycemia, that is hypoglycemia, that's it. Okay, so conversion of glucose into glycogen, that is glycogenesis, that is formation of glycogen from glucose. Obviously what's happening here, glucose number is reducing because all are getting converted into glycogen. Okay, so the glucose homeostasis means maintenance of the glucose in the blood, okay, by insulin and glucagon. Insulin decreases the glucagon increases the glucose concentration in the blood. That's it. Diabetes mellitus, it is mainly caused by insulin deficiency. Okay, so diabetes insipidus is because of abnormal secretion of ADH, vasopressin. Okay, that is different. This is different. Okay, this leads to increased blood glucose level, and you can read it. If the concentration of ketone bodies in the blood increases, that leads to diabetes mellitus. That's it. Okay, so diabetic patients are treated with insulin therapy, that is injection. Test is, I think, no need to talk about it. You know that they produce one hormone called as androgens or testosterone. Which cells produces androgens? That is kind of cells called as interstitial cells, okay, so or Leydig cells. Upon the LH, luteinizing hormone from pituitary, when it actually stimulates the Leydig cells, it secretes androgens. Okay, androgens are very important for spermatogenesis. I think you know that. Okay, so no need to talk about it. Next, we go to the ovary, and we know that two steroid hormones are produced. Steroid means lipid. Okay, estrogen and progesterone, and you know the function of it. Okay, so estrogen secreted by the growing ovarian follicles itself. Okay, so progesterone is produced from corpus luteum. Okay, so after Graafian follicle, it transforms into corpus luteum, which produces progesterone. The function is to maintain the endometrium layer, okay, for pregnancy. That's it. Okay, so in females, high pitch of voice is because of estrogens. It also belongs to a big class of hormones called as estradiol. Okay, estradiol, you know that. Okay, so hormones of heart, kidney, and gastric glands, very important, very simple, very easy. Also, there is nothing. Heart actually produces ANF, atrial natriuretic factor. Heart. Okay, so this is very very important. When blood pressure is increased, ANF is secreted, which causes dilation of the blood vessel. Okay, dilation means like a widening of the blood pipe. Okay, the diameter of the blood vessels increases. That is dilation. As a result, the blood pressure automatically decreases. Correct. Okay, that is ANF function. Erythropoietin. This is commonly asked question. That is the kidney hormone. Okay, secreted by the juxtaglomerular cells of the kidney. Okay, juxtaglomerular cells of the kidney. Okay, erythropoiesis means formation of RBC. Okay, hormones of gastrointestinal tract. Okay, that is stomach and intestine. Gastrin, secretin, cholecystokinin, gastric inhibitory peptide, growth factors. These are the different hormones from gastrointestinal tract. Okay, gastrin, you know that they help in the stimulation of secretion of hydrochloric acid and pepsinogen. Okay, and secretin, that mainly acts on the exocrine gland of the pancreas, exocrine part. That is, it helps in the synthesis of certain enzymes, even secretion of water and bicarbonate ions. Then cholecystokinin, that is also gastrointestinal tract hormone. Okay, so acts on both pancreas and gallbladder. Gallbladder is present within the liver. Okay, and stimulates the secretion of pancreatic enzymes and bile juice. Okay, then GIP, that is gastric secretion and motility. That's it. Inhibits. Okay, so growth factors mainly for your normal growth. Okay, and even repairing of tissues also. So that is the different hormones of heart, kidney, gastric glands. Take a screenshot. Very important. Classification of hormones on the basis of chemical nature. Okay, we can classify the hormones into four different types based on the chemical nature, whether it is protein hormone, peptides, amino acids. Okay, so whether they are water soluble or lipid soluble. Okay, whether they are steroids, like that. So whatever the hormones we have studied so far, that can be classified under four major classes: peptide, polypeptide, protein hormones. Remember that. So example: insulin, glucagon, pituitary hormones, all pituitary hormones. Then hypothalamic hormones, they belong to the first class. Note this point, very important. Okay, because there is one concept, that is mechanism of hormone action. In that, they straight away ask insulin can bind to the cell membrane or the nucleus or chromosome, like that during hormone action. Insulin is a protein hormone. It cannot pass the or cross the plasma membrane because it is water soluble. Got it? Okay, so there must be some receptors present in the plasma membrane, then only it can actually initiate the responses inside the cytoplasm. Okay, steroids, that is lipid soluble hormones. Steroids: cortisol, testosterone, estradiol, that is estrogen, and progesterone. Okay, very simple now. Okay, then iodothyronins, very simple, that is lipid hormones like thyroid, all thyroid hormones like T3, T4. Then amino acid derivatives, water soluble again, that is also protein type. Okay, epinephrine. Okay, so that is actually the example. Next, this is the diagram directly picked from your NCERT, so you must be thorough with this diagram, compulsory. Mechanism of hormone action, that's what I put number one, because there are two types of hormone action. Okay, so if they are lipid soluble, that is steroid hormones like estrogen, progesterone, testosterone, cortisol, and iodothyronins, or that is thyroid hormones. Please remember this. Okay, they can cross the plasma membrane. You could see the diagram. So uterine cell membrane, one example is given, that is estrogen hormone, that is a steroid hormone. Okay, so you could see that the green color dot, that is nothing but estrogen, that can easily cross the plasma membrane because they are lipid soluble. Okay, they can easily bisect the plasma membrane and reach this cell. Okay, then you could see arrow mark, that is the space where cytoplasm is there. Okay, then you could see that nucleus boundary, correct. Okay, and directly it enters without the help of anyone into the nucleus itself. There actually, it binds to receptors. Okay, so receptors are present for the steroid hormones which is inside the nucleus. This is very important. Okay, so receptor hormone complex will be formed inside the nucleus. Then actually it sends messages to your DNA. The DNA produces a particular mRNA. mRNA produces particular proteins, and these proteins actually initiate the physiological responses. For example, if it is estrogen, estrogen will bind to the receptor hormone complex inside the nucleus of the cell. Then actually it sends messages to a specific DNA to synthesize a specific mRNA. The mRNA produces the proteins which is responsible for tissue growth and differentiation, okay, in our body, that is estrogen. Okay, so this is mechanism of hormone action, very very important, don't forget this. They are like direct, they can easily pass the plasma membrane and reach the nucleus and bind to the receptor present in the nucleus. Okay, mechanism of hormone action, that is number two, that is only protein hormones like the peptide hormones or amino acid derivatives like insulin, glucagon, pituitary hormones, hypothalamic hormones, amino acid derivatives, epinephrine. Okay, so these are the hormones you have to remember. Okay, where they bind to the plasma membrane because they cannot bisect or cross the plasma membrane because they are water soluble. Got it? Because lipid bilayer is there in the plasma membrane. Got it? So there is hydrophobic tails. Okay, that will not allow these hormones to get inside the cytoplasm. So this hormone has have to bind to the receptors present within the plasma membrane. The receptors could be G protein. Okay, sorry, not G proteins. I'm really sorry. Okay, receptor could be any type of protein actually, intrinsic proteins in the plasma membrane. Once this hormones binds to receptor, okay, so that hormone receptor complex will be produced in the plasma membrane that actually activates G protein, that is response number one. It's not given G protein, capital letter G protein. So this G protein will activate certain enzymes, and these enzymes actually produces certain secondary messengers, that is second messenger. Here first messengers are hormones. Okay, now these are postmans. Got it? Okay, they actually take the message into the nucleus. They are called as secondary messengers. Some examples are cyclic GMP, it's not given here. Other one is cyclic AMP, IP3, inorganic phosphate 3, even calcium. These are all actually the second messengers. Okay, and ultimately they bring biochemical responses like what kind of protein that has to be synthesized. Ultimately, if the hormone is FSH, ovarian growth is initiated. That's it. So we got the difference between the steroid hormones and protein hormones. Steroid hormones can directly enter into the nucleus without anybody's help, whereas protein hormones require a lot of help. Okay, that is they need receptors within the plasma membrane. Then they produce response 1, then they produce response 2. Response 2 is nothing but second messengers. Remember, you get a question, second messengers are cyclic AMP or something like that. So remember this, very important.